Hi, and welcome back to CreativeChelsey. Today we are going to be making some alternative cards using the January 2020 paper pumpkin kit called I'll Be Yours. So this kit comes with all the things you need to make these cute projects, and what I like to do is to take those elements and turn them into alternative projects. And for this video, I've come up with this cute card. And I've made two versions of it, a vertical and a horizontal card. So these cards are really fun, and I don't know if you can see all the different elements that I've added. So let's start with the embossed paper back here. And that comes from the treat bag that is in the kit, and you only need one bag to make both cards. And then we've got this washed purple wash on this card, and on this card we've got the Rococo Rose wash, and I've done that in a different way than I've ever done on video before, so that's going to be a fun new technique that we can learn today in this video. And then on the bees, these bees do come from the kit, but I've added some clear embossing on them so that they are shiny and kind of act more like an accessory or another special element. And then on the heart, I've added some wink of Stella to give it some shine. Okay, so let's start with the watercolor wash so that it can take a minute to dry. So this is one of the note cards that come in the kit, and all you need to do is grab your paper trimmer, and you're just going to cut right down here, so it's separating the front from the back, and that is at 3 inches. Now, if you want, you could use this mint macaron color or turn it over, and that's what we're going to do, is we're going to use the white side and we're going to turn it into our own color, and then we're going to use the back as well. So I've got Highland Heather and Rococo Rose, and if you have an ink refill, then you're going to want to use those as well. So go ahead and open up your ink and add some refill to it if you have it. Now, for some reason, I don't have a Rococo Rose ink refill yet, and so I'm just going to squeeze the top and the bottom together, and that's going to add ink to the lid. And this looks like it has enough ink in it, so I'm not going to add anything to that now. I'm going to grab a scrap paper just so I don't get anything on my work surface. And you're going to need some water, and I've just got a cup of water here, and then a sponge. And I like using the sponge for this technique because you can clean it between the colors, and you only need one. So go ahead and get that wet, and it looks like I've used it for a different color, and so it's kind of turning yellow. It's probably crushed curry. Okay, so I've got, a little towel to dry my fingers. So this is wet and we want it to stay wet. So let's start with the purple, and I'm actually going to pick up just a little more water, and we're just adding that water to the lid of our ink pad. On the white side, we're just going to wipe it back and forth to give it that watercolor wash look. So the important part about this is to let it pool in some areas and to leave some areas white. So if you want it a little darker, just grab some of the ink that doesn't have a lot of water, and then just kind of wipe that back and forth too to give it some darker areas. If you wanted to lighten up some areas before you dry it, just go ahead and get a towel or paper towel and just pick up some of that water. Okay, so that one's done. Let's go ahead and clean our sponge. Squeeze out most of the water. And then we're going to do the same thing with the Rococo Rose. I'm just going to pick up a little bit of water, get the ink and the water, mix it together, and then just kind of wipe it on. Now, if you're covering a large area, and you wanted this watercolor look, this is a really easy way to get that watercolor look on a large area. And I'm not using any watercolor paper, and so this is another good technique because with watercolor paper, you know, you can move the water back and forth and it doesn't really ruin the integrity of the paper. But when you're just using regular paper, too much water will like start to warp it a lot. And so this technique gets that water on there quickly, so it doesn't ruin your paper. Okay, so go ahead and close those inks up. And then if you want these to dry faster, you can always hit them with your heat tool. But I'm just going to go ahead and put them off to the side. And if they're not dry by the time we want them, then we'll do that. So the next thing for our card, we've got these beautiful stitched rectangles in the back that have these tiny little scallops, and they are so sweet. And it's actually in the name of the product. So the name of these dies is called Stitched So Sweetly dies. And it comes with 5 different rectangle dies that have that scallop and the stitching. And so we're using the largest size for this project. And then it also comes with these beautiful labels. So this is a really great die set to get, and it's in the new January through June 2020 mini catalog. So if you don't have those, just go ahead and go to my shopping link, which is in the description box below, and grab those. So we're going to cut both the Highland Heather and Rococo Rose cardstock out of that die. And this size is just, I'm pretty sure it's 3 inches by 4 1/4. Don't forget to sign up to receive your paper pumpkin kit. Next month, February 2020, you'll be receiving a project that coordinates with the Happy Birthday to You stamp set found in the Celebration catalog. And you can get this stamp set for free with a $50 order. So contact me if you have questions and are interested in getting this stamp set. And then the paper pumpkin kit coordinates with it, and it's going to be beautiful. And so make sure to sign up before the 10th of February to get this kit. And the link for that is below in the description box. Okay, so we've got that done. Let's go ahead and work on the bag that comes from the kit. Now, for both of these cards, I tried 2 different sizes. So this one is just a little bit smaller than 3 inches, and then this one is more like 2.5 inches square. So I think I like the larger size. It gives me a little bit more of the the embossing on the bag. So we're going to go ahead and cut that down to 2 3/4 inches. So let's start by just trimming off this one side. So the side closest to the embellishment, so that has the most embellishments, we're just going to take off the tiniest bit. So if that's whatever you can do on your paper cutter. So mine is about 1/16 of an inch. So I'm just removing that. And then coming over here and doing 2 3/4 of an inch. And then, we'll do 2 3/4 again. And we'll just cut both of those at the same time. And then you can open this up and cut it just down the center, and that's going to be at 2 3/4. Great. So we've got those 2 different sides. So let's go ahead and work on the bees next. So I've got 6 little bees, and we're just going to put some clear embossing powder on them. And it's a little tricky on how to do this. And so what I like to do is to find a scrap piece of paper. So like this would even work better than what I have. And we're going to just attach them to this paper. So grab some snail or glue dots and just add just a little bit so that these bees will stay on the paper. And of course, you don't have to do this step if you don't have clear embossing powder. This is just something I wanted to add to give the bees a little bit more of an embellishment feeling instead of just like a die cut. Okay, so we're going to try to squeeze all 6 bees on here. Okay, grab your some scrap paper, and we're going to need the VersaMark ink. Okay, so I've got my VersaMark ink, and we're just going to go ahead and ink up these bees. So just go all over. And what we're doing is we're just applying that sticky ink to the top of these die cuts. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is grab our clear embossing powder, and we're going to just place the bees in the powder, and it should stick to that VersaMark ink. Tap it off, and then grab our heat tool, and we're going to heat them up. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that, but now they're all pretty and shiny. See if it can get to focus. Okay, so now you just remove them from your strip. Just make sure your clear powder has totally dried, because sometimes it stays a little bit wet after it's heated up. Okay. So our next thing we're going to do, we're just going to stamp our greeting. And I've got a 1/2 inch strip in Whisper White, and they are 3 1/4 in length. And we're going to use the Mint Macaron, and you can use the mini stamping ink spot that came in your kit if you don't have the larger pad. And you're welcome to pick and choose whichever greeting from the stamp set you would like to use. So there are a lot of great ones. You could use Be Mine, For You is what we're going to use, Thank You, Let's Be Friends. Any of these wonderful stamp sets, or excuse me, these wonderful images from the stamp set would work for this card. All right, so just ink it up. And on our cards, I don't know if you can see, but we have one on the left and one on the right. So just make sure that if you're doing both at the same time, that you do one of each side. Great. And then our very last thing we're going to do before we assemble our card, we're going to add a wink of Stella to the front of the hearts with the flowers on them. So I think these ones I would definitely use for these cards and not the solid ones, unless you went ahead and stamped the flower image on the solid ones and maybe embossed them with white to give them a pretty little shine. Okay, so I love this Wink of Stella pen, and it just gives just the slightest little bit of shine to your elements. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at our watercolor papers. They are a little bit damp, so I'm going to heat them with my heat tool, but you can see that they've got this beautiful watercolor wash, some dark areas, light areas, and I think they turned out great. So let's go ahead and assemble our cards. I've got 2 pieces of thick Whisper White cardstock, and they're just cut to 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 and then scored at 4 1/4. Okay, so we're just going to do one at a time. Let's start with the vertical card. So we begin by adding the Rococo Rose scalloped rectangle down first. We can do that with some snail. And we're putting this down at an angle a little bit to the left of middle. We've got our purple watercolor wash background. And for this card, we're going to use the, so you can tell that we've got one that has the elements on the right side and one that has elements on the left side. So I'm going to use the one on the left side and add it to my purple background. And we're going to do that at an angle as well. And then this is added to our card just with some snail. And this is at a slight angle. The next thing we're going to add would be our greetings. And we want the one that we stamped on the left so that it's over our embellishments. And we're going to add this with some of the mini dimensionals. And we want this to try to go on straight. So kind of line it up to the edge of the card. It is going to come off your, so it's larger than your purple watercolor wash, but we kind of want it to be horizontal with the bottom of our card. So then we're going to add the matching heart. So we're matching this red Rococo Rose to the cardstock, and we're going to add some dimensionals at the top and then some snail here at the bottom. And that's just going to let it sit on this strip here. And you can place that up high or down low. I'm just going to try to put it right here in the middle of that space. And then we're going to add 3 of these bees to our card as little accents or elements. Oops. And I'm just going to add some more snail, or if I had my glue dots, I could use glue dots. And I'm just going to lift up their wings slightly and place them on the card. There we go. So that card is done. So let's go ahead and make the horizontal version, and it's very similar. So we start with the Highland Heather rectangle, and this just is in the center at just a little angle. Then we've got our Rococo Rose wash and the flowers on the right side. And this is going at an angle as well. And then place this on your card. And just slightly angle it. Then our greeting with some dimensionals. And again, we want this to be horizontal. I'm going to bring it down just slightly so it's not quite in the middle. And then the same thing for our Highland Heather heart. Add some snail to the base of the heart and dimensionals at the top. and then place that down so that it's covering a little bit of that strip, and then add the bees. And I'm going to place one right here. One on the scallop, and then one down there. Okay, so that card is done. So by using one of the bags and one card, plus some of our extra accessories and some of the other elements from the kit, we can make these cute cards. And these are perfect for Easter or springtime, just a thoughtful little sweet card to send to a friend. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, like, and share. Visit CreativeChelsey.com for more information about Paper Pumpkin and to start getting your monthly kit. Have a creative day. Bye.